In this video, I'm looking at the playtest realm for patch 11.1, which is probably starting sometime in February, if unlucky, probably March. But this is going to take place in Undermine, which is a whole new city area within the War Within. Now you should know that some of the things in this video might change by the time the game actually releases this patch. The first major update on your home screen here is the addition of campsites. These are, well, just different background images for your warband to be sitting on. So, for example, in the testing realm, I have the Anaran overlook that looks like this. So you can have your characters kind of around a different scenery when you log into the game. And you'll be able to unlock new campsite images by completing various types of achievements. You'll be able to find these achievements under exploration in the War Within. Some of them you can actually unlock right now. For example, all that Kaz just requires achievements that already exist in the current War Within. And once the patch comes out, you will immediately unlock this campsite. But there will also be several others like Going Goblin Mode, which requires doing a bunch of achievements within the Undermine. So there are going to be several of these for you to unlock. Now, the way you'll arrive at the Undermine City is by taking a drill, which is going to be accessed through a quest line in the Ringing Deeps. As you get here near the bottom over here, you'll find at Opportunity Point there is now an opening that goes through into this little section of the map, which eventually has a quest line that goes through a drill, which brings you to, well, Undermine, which is this area right over here. After taking the drill, you'll see you have a giant new map to play around with. It is very densely populated, so it's smaller in size, but you cannot fly here. It's only ground mounts and obviously the new drive mechanic that you will unlock very early on. And there are several things to do within this little area. This is not an area that you can use skywriting or any kind of flying. You will be limited to ground mounts and the new drive mechanic, which you unlock pretty early on in the quest line for, just following along. Right in the heart of the area is the Intercontinental Hotel. Reminds me of John Wick. This is also where the location of the Liberation of Undermine's raid is located. So like the raid is literally right here. So there's like a meeting stone, the raid entrance, and then, literally the hub point of the expansion. It's kind of cool. It's kind of crazy. There'll also be several reputations that you can go on and work on here. The main one is going to be the Cartels of the Undermine. This is like the overall progression, right? This is the main renown track, which will go up to 20 tiers for various different things. As your renown goes up, inside the hotel, there'll be an NPC over here, Renowned Quartermaster Smacks Top Skimmer. When you speak to this dude and you ask him to show me your wares, you'll unlock several different things. Much like the other ones, there are pieces of gear that have a higher eye level that you can obviously spend your resonance crystals on, which I actually recommend saving as much of these crystals as you can, because there are a few vendors that you can buy mounts from. One here is this mount over here, which you can buy at, I believe, rank 19 with the renown. So that's like the second last rank that you can get. And you can purchase this mount over here for, assuming the price stays the same, 11,375 resonance crystals. But this is not the only mount that you're going to be able to get from reputations. There are actually several reputations within this patch. If I open up my reputations for the War Within, you can see we have the Cartels of Undermine as the main one. Now, separate from the Cartels of Undermine, there are 4 different mini factions that you can gain reputation for. Very similar to how the Ajkahet system works, is that every week you'll get the option to pick which company or cartel that you want to work for and do world quests and stuff for that week to, boost the reputation you gained with them until you get, like exalted. Now, these 4 different factions, like the ones in Ajkahet, also come with mount rewards, which is pretty neat, and some other rewards too. If we start out with the Bilgewater Cartel, you'll be able to find the Bilgewater Cartel location right over here at the top left-hand side-ish of the area. So at this location, this big building over here, if you go here, you're going to use the entrance on the left. And immediately on the right-hand side, we have the Bilgewater Quartermaster, and we speak to him, and you can see here you can get a various amount of different things, mainly the mount, which is the main thing people are going to go for 8,125 resonance crystals. This is what the mount looks like. It is a ground one. The others are flying ones. The next one is the Blackwater Cartel. To find their quartermaster, you're going to go to the top right-hand side of the map over here at the Blackwater Marina. You'll see this building just above the actual lake water area. Right over here, it's the first building entrance on the left here. You're going to go in and you'll find the quartermaster in the room directly in front of you. Speak to them and you can see here the mount you'll get for this one is a lot more cooler. It's like a giant kind of robot thing, but it's in blue. This one's also listed for 8,125 resonance crystals. And of course, you have other items that you can purchase here too. The next one is the Steamwheedle Cartel. You can find their location over here on the map at the Vatworks, so the bottom left area. So this location in this building, can't really miss it. The building sticks out like a sore thumb. It looks like this. You're going to go inside. As you go down the stairs in this building, you'll jump over here and you'll see the quartermaster is literally just by one of these vats. And you can speak to them and see this mount is a really cool looking flying one. Kind of reminds me of Mimiron's head. This one is a bit more expensive. It's listed for 11,375 resonance crystals, but it's also a pretty decent looking mount. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, these are pretty cool. These are, of course, only unlockable once you reach Exalted Reputation with the cartel in question. The next one is for the Venture Company. The Venture Company can be found at this yellow building in the middle lower half of the map over here. So at this location, if you go into this building, you'll see this is what it looks like over here, the Venture Company, Venture Plaza. As you go inside here, you'll see the quartermaster standing here, and this mount looks like this. It's basically a yellow recolor of the other one that we saw at the beginning that was pink. And this is 11,375 resonance crystals as well. So those are 5 mounts that you can get for grinding your reputation and, you know, saving up your resonance crystals to spend. So I highly recommend, if you're playing Season 1 still at the viewing of this video, save up these crystals because you're going to need a ton of them. Now, another mount that wasn't listed in the actual store, the one right at the very beginning, is the Violet Armored Growler, which is basically a pink recolor of the red one we saw. There's also a yellow version of the big robot mount that looks like this. This is a drop from the Venture Co. Trove, which is a item that you're gonna, you know, open up probably once a week from Undermined. And this has a chance of giving you this mount, which looks pretty cool. Like, honestly, I want this. I really want this. This looks freaking awesome. From the Steamwheedle Troves that you can open up probably once a week, they also have a chance to drop this mount, which is the Rocket in a green variant. There's also a yellow variant of this mount over here, the Salvage Goblin Gazillionaire's Flying Machine. This is a drop from Galagio Garbage, and this seems to be a rare mount drop that you can get from that. There's also the Personalized Goblin Scrapper, which is a drop from the Gunk Covered thing. This seems like it also might be from, you know, some form of world quest or activity where it might just be a random rare drop to get it. There's also a blue variant of this one, the Margin Manipulator. This one is going to cost Miscellaneous Mechanica. I don't know where the store is. Another one is the Innovation Investigator, also using the 25 Miscellaneous Mechanica to unlock, which is just a straight up gray-black version of that rocket, which actually kind of looks pretty cool. There's also the Dark Fuse Demolisher that's going to be purchased for Resonance Crystals for 11,375. This shows up like this in the mount store, which is different, and the gray and red quality instead of like the green, blue, and yellow, though I'm not sure which vendor this is from. There'll also be a Bronze Goblin Wave Shredder, which is similar to the one that we got on the Siren Isle. This is going to drop from the Dark Fuse Trove. When you get the Blackwater Trove and you open it up, you have a small chance of getting the Blackwater Bone Crusher. There are a lot of recolors this patch, guys. There's like 4 of every kind of mount in every color. Even for the Bilgewater Trove, you can see you have a chance of opening up and getting the Bombardier over here. There's also the Acid Advocator, which is purchased with Miscellaneous Mechanica as I guess a scrap one. Seems like this store is also going to have a few. I don't know where the store is located right now or what more is entailed in getting these things. Another one of the new mounts in this patch is going to be from the raid, from defeating Chrome King Gallywix, so the final boss in the Liberation of the Undermine in Mythic difficulty. This is going to be the mount that drops there, which is pretty cool looking. It's like the floating head, very unique, very interesting. Another mount that seems to come from the raid is this one, the Prototype ASMR, that looks like this. Pretty cool. It's got the red. It's not the helmet that you get from Mythic, but it seems like it's just going to drop in general from probably any raid difficulty. Not sure as yet, and it kind of looks like those are 2 eyes, and this is a mustache. That's kind of weird now that I notice it. Those are the current mounts listed on the PTR, but there's also still the one for delves and dungeons, which I'll show you in a bit. All right, so let's talk about the new feature, Drive. Now, Drive is probably going to be something you either love or hate, to be honest. It acquires some getting used to, I gotta say, and there's some systems that make it maybe a little too fast. Like when you go like this and you're going a little too fast, I mean, there was a crash that I had, but I know this is still a PTR, but there's like, you know, the speeds that you can reach sometimes with this thing can be a little daunting and maybe a little too much for some people's computers even. Overall, it is a very fun mechanic, and it does have like drifting as like a spacebar thing, just doesn't really have a good object kind of thing. Like if you drive into something, you kind of like really get stuck in it. You'll notice that the difference between drive and your ground mount is incredibly insane. Like ground mount feels too slow in this area. Whereas if you use your ability to open up your drive, which you can do anytime like how you would for a normal mount, you can see the base speed is quite fast, and you do get several options of customizing it to the exact way you want. You're also able to have that boost mechanic, which is the 1 on my keyboard, and you can collect these like soda cans on the ground that like recharge your boost meter at the top of the screen. So at any time, once you have your drive mechanic, you can actually go to the drive icon, which is listed right over here. So if we make our way to that location, at this location, you can speak to Mobber that says drive under his name, select him and access drive. This is where you can change the color of what your vehicle looks like. I can make it red, for example. The second option is how you want to distribute your acceleration and speed. Like if you want an average acceleration and average top speed, so like pretty neutral, or if you want really good acceleration, but not such a high top speed. Or the final option where you have a very good top speed, but you reach there really slowly with like a slow acceleration. To be honest, I'm enjoying the increased acceleration so that you can take off quite quickly, because there's a lot of turns here. A lot of times you might actually have to slow down. So picking up speed quickly seems to be working the best for me. The next option is about drifting, like how much grip your tires have on the ground when drifting, whether you want to slide or if you want to make it like a really sharp handbrake turn to take a quick left or a quick right. The next option has to do with your boost speed. Either you want a really good boost speed or you want it to be able to charge faster so that you can boost more often. To be honest, I'm just using it for the higher boost speed since I'm focusing more on the, increased acceleration. I don't reach a good top speed, but when you do have those nice long stretches of road, you can then use your boost over here that has a higher speed to make up for it. It works for me. The final option is just for your horn. I actually don't know what button sounds the horn, but you can have a unique sounding horn on your bike. I wouldn't lie if I'm a bit disappointed that I cannot use the Incognito as the, drive vehicle. I have to use the ones that they give you instead. It feels a little bit disappointing because we unlock this. I thought it was going to be for this mechanic, and the fact that it's not is kind of a little saddening. I do hope maybe the patch comes out and I'm wrong, but otherwise it's a bit disappointing because it's a bike, dude. It feels like it was designed for this mechanic. I do want to talk about different ways to control the vehicle because there are different ways. Well, two mainly. So if you go ahead and you open up your, Breakneck G99, which is the name of the car, I guess. Now you can drive this with, WASD. So you can turn right, you can turn left, W go forward, S go backwards. Quite simple. Now, if you've ever played a racing game, using WASD is not the most easiest way to race in a game. A great way to get a bit more control is using your mouse to drive. So the way you do this is when you hold right click, of course, you can turn to the left, turn to the right, and the car will follow the direction you're going. And when you hold left click in at the same time as holding right click in, so both of those mouse buttons in, the car moves forward. If you want to slow down, you let go left click for a bit and the car comes to a slow. If you want to go ahead and drift, you tap the space bar and you just look the direction you want to go. Like look left, tap space bar, and then go ahead, look left, tap space bar. You kind of just learn this mechanic. I feel like it's much easier to drive using the mouse in this way. I also highly recommend not always accelerating the entire time. It can sometimes make it really hard, especially if there's a lot more obstacles that you need to dodge or there's tight corners that you don't know what's around that corner. So you kind of want to just let go left click every now and again so that the acceleration turns off while constantly holding right click and then just using your space bar to drift and take corners like you would in a handbraking turn. You just don't want to do it too early because you drive into stuff. And trust me, you're going to do it a lot. You're going to drive into stuff all the time. All right, so let's talk about the raid. Now, the raid is going to be an 8 boss raid like we normally have. I'm not going to go into depth on the different bosses and what else there is, that entails it. But I do want to mention that there is going to be another reputation or renown track that you can get that has 20 levels currently, which is a little much since they said that you could probably only max out 1 level per week, which means that's going to be 20 weeks to finish this renown track, which is a lot of time. That is a lot of time. There is a free mount included. It's like a giant T-Rex, I believe, though it's currently not listed in the mount journal. but I believe it's going to look like the second boss in the raid, Falarindo the Furious, which looks like this cool, pretty T-Rex mount. It's going to look pretty interesting. It's got interesting animations, and this is supposedly at the end of the Renown track, so it's going to take you some time to unlock this. Now, in this Renown track, we're going to be unlocking several things that make the raid really cool, like things like you consume food faster. Every couple of levels, like 4, 7, 10, 13, etc., is going to come with a 3% boost to your damage and healing output, much like how we have for Nerubar Palace with their Nerubar Refinery at the beginning of the raid that increases your output so that you straight up just get a buff to help you, get stronger at the raid the more you complete doing the raid. They also mentioned that you do not have to kill every single boss in the raid to, achieve your maximum reputation that you can gain for that week. So you don't have to clear, every single boss to make up for it. You just have to do a couple bosses. I'm not going to go into too much detail of like when you unlock what and what you can unlock until the actual raid is fully released and the patch comes out, because I feel like a lot of the stuff is subject to change and I don't want to talk about it right now. Now, we're also getting 2 new delves. Well, technically 3, because the third one is a challenge delve, much like the one we did for Zekvir in Season 1. But the first 2 delves, the first one's going to be Side Street Sluice. This is located directly inside Undermined, right over here, near the hotel itself, which is a pretty interesting kind of mini-game delve with, various different options that you can do. One, you have to control a robot. The other time you have like teleporters. It's very like objective focused, so it's pretty unique. It's pretty interesting. The other delve is going to be located in the Ringing Deeps in the Gutterville area over here. It's called Excavation Site 9. This one is a bit more black blood, kind of like, darkness and, kind of fucking evil. I guess it's like, what Ashkahet looks like in a way. There's also several changes made to delves to make it a little bit of a better solo experience. We have Bran, who now has a tank spec. If we go ahead and we look at his roles, he can now play damage dealer, healer, and tank, which currently makes content really easy to get through higher difficulty delves. There'll also be new curios that you can unlock that give new and different effects so that you can play around with how Bran performs, which is going to be fun and interesting other than just setting him on 2 and forgetting about him for the rest of your life. There's a new delve mount, which is going to be the Delver's Gobtrotter. It looks like this over here. It's more of a helicopter plane vibe. I think it does look better. It looks cooler than the other one, in my opinion. But what really makes it cool is the gold version that you get for defeating the new challenge delve. This delve will be located at the very top of the region called the Demolition Dome, and is going to be very similar to the Zekvir one that we fought in Ashkahet. That can come in very difficult difficulties and requires you to beat it solo in its hardest difficulty in order to unlock the golden version of the Gobtrotter that looks like this. And man, it is chef's kiss, dude. It is one of the coolest looking mounts. I really want that. Delves are getting exciting rewards. Tier 11 is going to start dropping gilded crests. Now, it does have a limit. These are the crests that are used for mythic gear to upgrade them. Now, you're only able to earn gilded crests from delves from 3 delves per week. And each delve will award you with 6 gilded crests. So that's like 18 for the week. And you cannot get more. It kind of caps out at 18 for a week. It's not crazy. Tier 11 delves are also quite difficult for most players. And it gives you an alternative for people who don't do Mythic Plus dungeons at high keys. Or, Mythic rating for that matter. Speaking about Mythic dungeons, we do have a new dungeon that is coming to the game. This is actually located in the Ringing Deeps, Operation Floodgate. Really easy to access, to be honest. This is a 4-boss dungeon that has a few unique mechanics and actually is quite fun to play. I tried it out for a little bit, and it seems like it's going to be quite interesting. Of course, this comes with a new season of dungeons, all of them different from Season 1. We have the Theater of Pain, the Rookery, the Motherlode, Priority of the Sacred Flame, Operation Mechagon, the Workshop, Operation Floodgate, Dark Flame Cleft, and Cinder Brew Meadery. Those are going to be our 8 dungeons of this season. Now, there are 2 mounts obtained for getting high mythic rating. For getting Keystone Legend, you will unlock the Enterprising Shredder Tank that looks like this. And going a bit further, we can unlock the Crimson Shredder Tank, which looks like this, for becoming Keystone Master Season 2. which is basically the same mount with a little bit more red, and of course the eyes are green instead. Now Mythic Plus is getting a massive change to damage visuals, which is great. It is fantastic. It's a little obnoxious the way it's done. It's really colorful. You can't miss it. Like, only stupid players are gonna like stand in the zones that are, you know, gonna damage you now, because they really stick out. But it's so much better than before, because before it was really hard sometimes to tell, you know, am I standing in something that's going to kill me because it matches the same color as the floor? It was very tricky and kind of hard to navigate. They've made it a whole lot easier for you to avoid damage that you didn't even see properly before. This is a change that I think is going to be highly welcome. I know for me, who plays in melee, it is a freaking nightmare to figure out like how not to stand in shit, because there's honestly so much stuff happening and all the effects overlapping, and you can't really tell, is this the beginning or like the start of, am I in the swirly, am I outside the swirly? It was kind of hard to figure this stuff out, and a lot of the times in Mythic Plus, those things would just straight up like one-shot you and kill you if you're standing in it. So you would have to make sure you're standing out of it, and it just made things more difficult. Now it's going to be so much better. It's going to be cleaner. Honestly, I think it's going to allow people to learn how to move out of damaging things a whole lot better than they could before, because now they can actually see what's happening. And lastly, in terms of PvP, of course, we're getting new PvP gear. That's going to scale up to 678 for the Conquest gear. And for Honor gear, it's going to scale up to 665. We're also getting a new PvP arena map that is going to be very Goblin-esque, kind of like the big arena in Undermine. Not really much I can say about this. It's like, okay, cool, it's nice to have, but ultimately PvP is not changing too much. Nothing big else is happening. I feel like no new battlegrounds, no new, game modes or anything. It's kind of just, it is what it is. It's PvP. It doesn't really change much, I guess. But I'll probably still jump in to get my elite transmog. But that's everything I'm going to talk about in the PTR. Remember, some of these things are subject to change. It might not happen at all. It might not arrive the way I've talked about it. But these are some of the ideas and implementations that you can look forward to. Until then, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching.